It's 2024 and there is no shortage of bad takes or hot takes where people are saying and doing anything on social media for engagement purposes, whether it be for clout, for money, for, trying to grow their brand, whatever it might be. But sometimes people do stuff and I'm curious what the actual purpose of said thing is. What is the purpose of this bad take? And we're gonna have a series of bad takes here from Anna, that Star Wars girl, talking about Pedro Pascal and predatory behavior, things like that. I honestly, I was exhausted reading these tweets, going through and seeing what was said, because I don't talk much about Anna. I find her engagement to be, I mean, it's not great, but she's not out here necessarily going hard on the stuff that the griftosphere is going after. But here we're talking about Pedro, and I want to read the initial tweet that she's responding to and then give a little bit of context of my own there. All right, so it says, crazy clips. Pedro Pascal suffers from anxiety when nervous and needs to touch someone to calm down. Now, I don't know if the purpose of the framing of this particular tweet was meant to be bad or if it was just engagement farming. I don't know. Maybe it was both. But Pedro has been open about suffering from anxiety. I suffer from anxiety. The recent studies showed that 30% of adults suffer from anxiety. So it's not really some weird thing that a very tiny fraction of people suffers. And there's clinical anxiety and there's just actual people who have anxiety. Some people have to take medication for it. Other people just deal with it in their own ways. And everybody has their own coping mechanisms. Pedro has been open about this. We've seen pictures of him where he's touching his stomach and he's talked about how that is sort of one of his ways to cope with it. There are different ways to deal with anxiety. I have ways I deal with it. It does. It can be debilitating. It can basically influence your entire day. So here she goes, I'm sorry, but this is BS. You're a full-grown man, not a toddler. Control yourself. Diminishing someone who has openly talked about dealing with anxiety. And this one isn't the worst, but this is the series. This is the beginning of like the waterfall of just bad takes here. Acting as if somebody who is dealing with an actual disorder or something that they struggle with in their life, they can just stop doing it. This is the kind of nonsense that leads people down a path of becoming harmful to other individuals. You start to act as if this stuff doesn't exist and it's not real because you are too undeveloped to understand that there are things in the world that you may not be educated in. And so you have takes like this. This is such a dumb take. It's also insinuating that he's uncontrollable because of something, even though his co-stars have spoken about this before. They understand it. Obviously, they tell him it's okay. He's not doing this against their will or anything of that sort. There's been no information to say otherwise. No one's come out and said, oh, Pedro touched my arm and so now I'm absolutely offended. It's not an uncontrollable behavior. It's just not. And then it goes on here with the next set of interactions. And it says here, based on the reaction to this tweet, I'm guessing she means some of the replies. A lot of you have been thinking having anxiety equals consent. Now, here's the issue here. Are you for or against consent? Because you're going to minimize what consent actually is in these next couple of tweets. So it tells me that you're not actually engaging with this thinking that consent is a real thing. So you're literally trying to do it to put those values onto the people in your comment section, values that you don't hold yourself. I want to be very clear on that. So based on the reaction to this tweet, a lot of you think having anxiety equals consent. Those two things aren't even the same. It's not. And you don't know if this person did or did not give consent. You are assuming they didn't based on a tweet, based on an image, even though there's been no one in Pedro's circle that says that he unconsensually touched them in any way. So this is you projecting that onto him. This is not something that actually happened. Apparently, Harvey had a lot of anxiety and you weirdos would defend it. LOL. So it's a joke. So it's funny to you. It's humorous to you, right? It's humorous that someone would ask for consent to be touched. That's the joke. That a man like Harvey can go out and do all these awful things. Someone that your community keeps trying to pair up Leslie Headland with and a lot of other people. Oh, they were close to Harvey Weinstein. So clearly you think that Harvey Weinstein, or at least your community thinks, let's rephrase that. The community, the bubble around you does think that Harvey Weinstein was actually doing something wrong. But then there's also the whole Me Too thing where you think that women were lying. And when I say you, I don't mean you specifically. Again, I want to make this very clear. It's the circle. Maybe you feel differently personally, but based on this tweet, I don't think so. So it was Me Too fake, or was it real? Was it a real thing? Was it a fake thing? Which one of those is it? Because if you're going to use the argument about Harvey Weinstein to try and pin it on Pedro, even though there's nothing even remotely similar to these two situations, except both individuals have anxiety, which again is not a very unique thing. At least 30% of adults have it, according to the last study. But that's how you're framing this, that this tiny fraction of a moment in time that you're looking at, that you're commenting on, somehow equates to the years of torment that Harvey Weinstein put women through. See what I mean by bad takes and hot takes? I don't understand that part. That part to me doesn't add up. And then it goes further here. It's another tweet. And again, these were just a couple of days ago. So 8/16/24. So just a couple of days ago. Goes on further here. Somebody responds to, I'm assuming that tweet. Comparing someone who suffers from anxiety to a sexual predator only shows that you have a deposit of fecal matter in your head and that you have the nerve to call it a brain, you asshole. Pretty direct to the point there. And then here's where we double down on the brain rotted hot take. How do you know he's not? So now we're doing a logical fallacy. Now the logical fallacy is you're going to call him something because there is no proof to the otherwise, which means if that's the case, I could just say, you're a racist. You're a bigot. How do we know you're not? That's called a logical fallacy. You can't do that. Doesn't work. Doesn't make any sense. So you're suggesting that he is, even though there's been no accusations, there's been nothing said to even remotely prove that he would be capable of that. But you're saying he is simply because we cannot prove that he isn't? So everybody's a criminal because we can't prove that everybody's not. That is so dumb. And it actually proves that this person's statement about you seems pretty accurate in this regard. Based on the way people are defending him, so based on the way people are defending him, and this the same arguments could be applied to an SP, and it's mind-blowing how they can't see it. So he is this thing because other people are defending him without him asking for any defense whatsoever. So now we've applied that to him. This is fucking stupid. This is really fucking stupid. It is semantic satiation with this idea of calling everyone predators, groomers, SAs. It gets to a point where it's not going to mean anything. You are contributing to an issue where all of the social cues that we would actually look for somebody that is committing some sort of egregious act to go on and continue because you think it's funny to call someone a predator. And there's more. This isn't even all of them. This is just a few of the more appalling pieces of this. If you go and you look under that post, if it's still there, at the time of making this video, it was, how in the world, I mean, how bad do you have to hate someone or not care about somebody as a human being to make these kinds of statements? What did he do to make you think that he's doing something that's tantamount to Harvey Weinstein? Absolutely nothing. And then your thing about, I'm like, okay, you said it, and now you're justifying saying it because of replies that happened after you said it. It wasn't like you responded to replies and then you made up your mind about saying that it was non-consensual. Now you're saying that it's justified because random people on the internet are defending him because you're calling him something out of the blue that means absolutely nothing. This is like the whole idea that, oh, you know, Me Too wasn't a real thing, Harvey Weinstein, but Leslie Headland was connected to Harvey Weinstein, and because of Me Too, that means that she's bad. I think it's very obvious to me that a lot of people on the outside are finally waking up to how stupid this entire community is. How the narratives that are painted, all the things that are being said. You cannot tell me that people think this way and this is okay.